Yes, we back. All black everything. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we here coming right back to No Doubt Law, Book One, the amendments. No Doubt Law, George Trump. We in the second chapter, Predator or Prey. Yep, we're gonna take right off where we take right on where we left off. And I do not own the rights to this music. It's the Kings, you know what I'm saying, public enemy. We rocking to something. But dig the content, like it, share, subscribe, the whole shebang bang. Let's get it through the algorithms. Get these views up. Mm-hmm. Sharing this information and this knowledge. Know your laws. We do it in a fun, you know, loose, inspiring way. We're gonna get to it. Yeah, all black everything. This is the channel. Go ahead and check out the other posts that we made. We're gonna get it. Oh yeah, custom made. Go ahead, check out the link. Y'all do remember that, huh? Custom made, baby. Got it on the back too. Here we go. Enough of that. Enough of that business. Let's get back to the square business. All right. Y'all remember we was in the pit with the chameleons was in the snake pit. All right, now it says the chief replied, "Well, I am aware that the snakes have not yet retaliated for our altercation, but don't forget, brethren, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just because we have not yet been attacked doesn't mean that we should stop protecting ourselves. Every living thing on this planet should has the right to protect itself from unwanted and unprovoked harm. The encounter with the snakes was a lesson for our people. We are not guarding our own, excuse me, we are not guarding our people and our harvest from the snakes that we have issues with. We are guarding our people and our harvest for the safety of our people and the harvest. Whether it is those snakes or some other snakes, anything or anyone else that threatens our well being. If we don't start to protect ourselves now after that lesson, when will we start? I also am aware I am also aware that without those chameleons that are on guard, every worker chameleon has to has to do twice as much work. I'm sorry to say, but that is just the way it's going to have to be now. Those on guard are on guard because they are the most qualified for the job. Those that are still workers are also the most qualified for the job. It is a blessing that you can all work twice as hard for your people, which is the talent that not all contain. Just think about the consequences of getting off guard. The snakes will demolish us and take all of our harvest away. The chameleons in the region will then be eternal enemies with the snakes, causing us to either stay and fight to the death or flee the land and hopefully survive on our own in the wilderness. Only if we're not caught and killed, of course. But this all can be avoided right now if we chameleons stay a step ahead of our enemies and master defending ourselves right now. It starts with us, brethren. The speech by the chief initially moved the crowd of chameleons, but once someone screamed out, "Why don't you try to do twice as much work like us? And then see if you'll be saying the same thing." The crowd was against the chief once again. The chief, the chief's top advisor approached the chief and whispered in his ear, while the crowd chanted, "We want change," over and over again. The advisor told the chief, "Listen up, brethren. Hmm. The people have spoken, and I think it's time for us to change it up a little bit. It's not just the workers who are complaining, but the guards as well. The guards feel that they are wasting time and could help the community by better by helping their co-workers with the harvest. I'm afraid that if you don't end the guard duty, there will be a boycott on the harvest production. The chief angrily thought about what was told to him. He stared at his advisors, then stared at the hostile crowd, then looked back at his advisor and said, "Okay, it's settled. Guard duty is officially abolished. Everyone can go back to their normal duties on the harvest." The word quickly spread throughout the entire region of the chameleons, and all the chameleons, seemed to be happier than ever. As the days went by, everyone rejoiced and they noticed the harvest production doubled, and everyone began to work with a determined attitude. The chief was proud of that fact, but still he feared what would happen if a threat arose. On the sixth hour after sunrise, 6 months and 6 weeks later from the day of the altercation, the snakes arrived hell bent on vengeance. They ambushed the community by throwing mud on their backs, first to avoid the sun ray attack that blinded them last time. Then the snakes surrounded them so that no one could escape, and they decapitated every chameleon in sight. Now, can you guess what the Second Amendment gives everyone? Andy, Malcolm said. Well, let me see about this one, Andy replied. My assumption is that the story gives the lesson that the chameleons would have been better equipped to defend themselves against the snakes if they would have continued to do guard duty. We must have the right to defend ourselves against the snakes in the world. Very well done, my brother, Malcolm said with a huge smile of victory on his face. The Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution says that everyone has the right to bear arms, or just like you said, we all have the right to defend ourselves. Each state has different qualifications, to get your gun permit, but everyone has the right to own a gun against people out to harm them and or their families. Andy nodded in appreciation. Excuse me. This was a great story, Malcolm. Very effective way of breaking the law down. Now that I understand this amendment, can you hurry up and get me out of this jail cell? You need to talk to Medger on that one, Malcolm replied. I like how they tag team. You see how they, go from one to the next. Now we on chapter 3. Here we go. Second Civil War. And it says, "Don't worry, Andy." Medgar Evers calmly tells Andy, "You're about to be released now. I had to go into the minds of a couple of cops, lawyers, and judges and have them release you with no charges at all." Just as he said it happened. Just as he said this, it happened. An officer came to Andy's cell and released him after giving him his belongings. "On behalf of the entire Justice Department, we sincerely apologize for the inconvenience, Mr. Jenkins," the officer humbly said. Andy walked out of the precinct and into the streets. He was ready to get some rest, but Medgar was ready for his turn to teach. "Okay, Andy. Now for the next amendment, Medgar began to say, but was interrupted by Andy. "Hold up. I'm still upset with you. You just let me get arrested and now I'm hungry and tired. I'm going home to eat, shower, and sleep," Andy aggressively stated. "So we'll just pick up in the morning then, Andy." "No problem at all," Medgar humbly replied. Medgar and Malcolm then ascended into the sky to analyze their first two lessons with Andy. Malcolm explained to Medgar that he had told him the chameleon and snake story, and Medgar replied, "Very impressive, brother. That's a good way to teach the Second Amendment. I don't think I would have thought of that one." "Well, your lesson was impressive as well," Malcolm said. "I like the way that you made him interact with the others to give him a real life, hands on experience of the law being exercised. What's your next approach going to be?" Medgar thought about it for a few seconds, and then said, "Time for the power of silence until the sun rises." Malcolm just smiled as both began to meditate until sunrise. As the sun began to show the crown of its bright rays, Medger and Malcolm descended back down to earth into Andy's room, where he's knocked out on his bed. In his bed, Medger and Malcolm are shocked at how dedicated Andy is to his game. His entire room was orange and black, and he had pictures of all his peoples all over the wall. Malcolm said, "I guess we're going to have to teach the brother how to have a better vision board. If he wakes up every day to all of this negativity and loyalty to the gang in his vision, his subconscious will continue to attract those things in his life." Pick it up. Mega replies, "Besides the vision board, we also got to teach him common sense. It's time to move on." Excuse me. Got the getting alarm going on. Shut up. Shut up. He says it's time to move on. Medgar pushes Malcolm to the side and now he says, "Ashe." The entire room began to mystically change into a classroom. The dresser and the mirror turned into a teacher's desk and vision board. The closet turned into lockers and the bed and chair turned into a table and a desk. "Good morning, Andy," Medgar says with a huge smile on his face. "Still, Andy says, "Let me just freshen up before we begin." Andy tells the truth. "No time for that, Andy. No time for Ashe," Medgar yelled again. A yellow aura surrounded Andy, and as it spread throughout his body, he became fresh and dressed, as if he took a shower, brushed his teeth, and got dressed with the snap of a finger. Andy was amazed, and then he finally got a chance to look around his room and realized that he was not in his peers. "What happened to my room? Where are we?" Andy asked. "We're in your room," Medgar replied. "I changed it into a classroom to teach you a couple of lessons. For the first lesson, focus your undivided attention on my vision board." Medgar yelled out, "Ashe," once more, and the vision board turned into a projection screen. The lights turned off and the movie began to show. Medgar quietly spoke to Andy as he watched the screen. "Andy, this movie is of your future if you don't abide by what Malcolm and I are trying to teach you. I understand that you were offended by getting arrested yesterday, but it was all a part of the lesson, just like this movie you're about to watch." Andy was surprised when he saw that it started out in his house. It was the year 2022, and the country was in the Second Civil War. The Black Panthers joined with the Zulu Nation and the nations of the gods and earths formed together as the Kingly People, and the Ku Klux Klan joined with the Aryan Nation and the Posse Comitatus formed together as the new Confederate. They clashed when the Panthers found out that the government was funding the new Confederate. The Panthers had a couple of their White Panther spies infiltrate the Ku Klux Klan. One of the spies got promoted to Grand Dragon of the Klan, gaining access to important movements of the Klan. The spy found out that the government made a pact with the Klan back in 1980 to infiltrate all white neighborhoods in the country in order to strengthen up the Klan for the future. When the Klan was when the Klan will start a white revolution and wipe out those not red in the face with creative forms of eugenics. Once the Panthers found out about this information, they began to bomb all of the abortion clinics in black neighborhoods. To no one's surprise, all of the abortion clinics were in black neighborhoods. Mhm. You better know that. Both of the new Confederate and the government were highly upset about these actions. The abortion buildings were all owned by members of the Klan and funded by grants from the government. The two evil forces combined to form a strategy to kill off the kingly people for good. They were going to give their agents, who had already infiltrated inside the Panthers, a word to take out all the Panther leaders. Once the leaders of the Panthers are taken out, the rest of the King people will be confused and make dumb decisions, which will allow us either to kill them or to lock them up. One of the government officials said. See, so you got to know what's going on. And this stuff is happening right now. Man. This book is, you know, fairly new, but it's not something that was written today. But we going back, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna end it right there. All black everything. And we tapping into this No God Law, the first book, book one, the amendment, excuse me. George Trim. Check it out for yourself. Don't take my word for nothing. Just sharing information. All black everything. Like it, share it, subscribe it if you like it. It's all about the content, getting the word out. One teach one, teach one, teach one. Peace and love, y'all. Come back for the next one. We're coming right back where we left off. Uh huh.